What up, family? We back at it again, man, with another great episode of Kanes2Kicks. It's your boy E, and I'm with my brother.
It is your boy Mario. Let's get it.
Hey, today is the day we giving flowers, man. And what we mean by that is, man, we are gonna show our appreciation. We just found out that I feel one of the greatest go getters in regards to point people that's gonna just go get a bucket. Mr. Bucket himself, Mr. Carmelo Anthony
Right on.
was going to be inducted into the 2025 Hall of Fame class. Other names are being announced, but the names that we've heard so far are Sue Bird, as well as Dwight Howard. And if you are saying Dwight Howard shouldn't get into the Hall of Fame, you must not know basketball, because Dwight Howard, hands down, his Orlando days, probably one of the best defensive players during his time. But besides that, man, we want to talk about Melo. Today, we want to talk about Mr. Bucket himself. We want to talk about Mr. Hoodie. We want to talk about Oak Hill's finest, man. We want to talk about Melo, man. I want to be able to ask you, to start this episode off.
hmm
We talk about Kanes2Kicks. So let's talk about his kicks first before we talk about his game. So
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what has been the toughest PE that you've seen Melo wear? And again, it doesn't have to be his personal shoe, but I kind of want to know maybe the toughest PE before he got his own that you like, bro. I wish they would have dropped them in my size, or I wish I would have had, some coins at that time to be able to pick them up myself.
So to be quite honest with you, his signature shoe with Jordan was probably better than what we see nowadays as far as Zion having his shoe, Jason Tatum having his shoe, Luca having his shoe. I think Melo's was better. What was it like the Melo 1.5 or something like that?
Melo 1.5.
Yeah, so I truthfully I thought that one was better. I thought, and Melo played in it too, and so you can see how it looked, as far as going with the uniform and things like that. Super dope shoe, but as far as PEs, I would say just going through some pictures, man. I love the Olympic Jordan two PEs, and then he has some Jordan two PEs that matched. The white version of the Nuggets jersey, super dope, super clean. And twos don't get all that. They don't get all the love. So just to see him in the twos, but like you said, I think you talked about this a couple episodes back. Like the Jordan ones was built like cardboard, and then the 2, 3, 4s, he put that cushion in there. So if you actually look at the pictures, like you can see that the twos actually look pretty comfortable. Like I like wearing twos; they're comfortable, they're roomy, and Melo's a big dude, so I can see him being able to get up and down the court and give you some buckets and those. You ain't gonna get no rebounds, you ain't gonna get no assists, but you gonna get some buckets. Hey. You are going to get some buckets. That's about it, though. You ain't gonna get nothing else, but you're gonna get a bucket. And you might get a game-winning shot, right? So, but shout out to Melo, man. He's super dope, man. He's leaving a legacy. So shout out to him. What you think? What you got over there? What you think is some of his favorite? What are some of your favorite shoes that he rocked, PEs and things like that?
So I'm gonna say, adding to what you said first, the PE, the baby blue that went with the Nuggets jersey. Again, when we talk about people that are in the shoes, I can say that you have been the main person all the way from Reno that had rocked twos and had rocked them and not care what nobody thought. Again, you wore what you wore because you liked them, and you put me
Right.
on with twos, bro. They are comfortable. They are comfortable. I was like,
Yeah.
nah, bro. The ugly, the hideous. He was like, no, bro, try it. And bro, I ended up getting my first pair, and I said, oh man, yeah, yeah, this is probably one of the most comfortable Jordan.
Yep.
Side note too, that the Nuggets 2 that he released, that before the pandemic hit, that was on Nike Outlet. You could be able to pick up that shoe. It was a 30% off
No
additional,
way.
promise you. And I was like, man, I'm gonna get it later. I'm gonna get it later. This was in February. Still on the shelf, still on the shelf.
Wow.
I'm gonna get it later, bro. Passed up on it. And then we end up having the pandemic happen. And as you know, what were shoe people doing back at that time? Trying to resell
Cleaning
everything.
house.
So by the time you came back, no Mellows no more. People weren't wearing them. You look at them now with the price, it's like, bro, that wasn't even the price. The price was under retail to get on
Wow.
Golden Stock. But again, man, for me, I would say again, 1.5 hands down was probably the best Jordan signature shoe released under an athlete. So any athlete outside of Jordan that released under, the Jordan name, the Jordan brand, whether that is, Chris Paul, whether that was, Dwayne Wade, back in the day, all of those individuals that released the shoe, Melo had the best, best shoe, especially debut shoe. That was amazing, man. People like again, my age, we rocking them. I still got a pair. I wish I was at my
No, for
mom's house
sure.
be able to show you the pair. I got them still. Ain't got no shoelaces. I don't know why, but again, they are definitely one of my favorite pairs. But PEs, I would say, man, I would rock the 12s that are getting ready to come out next month. So
Dope.
excited, man, to be able to grab a pair of those. But a shoe that most people overlook was the Melo PE 20s, Jordan 20s. Amazing shoe, bro. Amazing, man. And again, I wish they would re-release the 20s as a retro, so we can be able to have a chance to be able to get them. Maybe not at the price that they were back in the day. They were $200, so I could just imagine what the price is going to be now. But amazing shoe, man. And again, that would probably be my two favorite PEs that he had.
The 20, is that with the strap around the ankle?
Yep, that's like with the Jesus strap on the top. Yep,
Yeah, no,
you know what I
those are
mean.
dope, man. That's a dope shoe.
Telling you, man. And I just again, it doesn't get a lot of recognition. I mean, as we
Nah, it
know,
doesn't.
outside of what, fifth, 14, that is really kind of where it stops at in
14,
regards to
yeah,
retro.
for
We
sure.
just had the case Jordan, released this year, or last year, which was a first and of a retro that we seen in the case like it was back in the day.
Hmm.
Still expensive, for a shoe like that. But again, we finally had a retro of that. So again, man, for me, I would say those shoes. But Melo is definitely because at that time, Melo and LeBron had one of the best debuting shoes at that time. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? With the LeBron ones and the Melo 1.5s, bro, that was the best. I feel again the best drop that we've seen in
for
regards to a
sure.
debut shoe. Uh, but yeah, man, I definitely love that question, bro. Definitely love it, man.
So so my only thing with Melo, right, and this has been circulating, throughout his entire career, is that Melo never won a championship, which he won Olympic gold medals, but he's never won a championship. And so does that tarnish the legacy? Does that put him in the same category as your Jordans, your LeBrons, your Kobe's, Hakeem Olajuwons? Like, does that put him in that category?
I still think it does. I mean, because when we talk about Allen Iverson, we still talk about one of the greatest, point
True.
guards slash guards that are out there. Even though he never got a ring. When we talk about Charles Barkley made it to the finals, but never won a ring. Still one of the greatest power forwards that played the game. Small forwards, depending on how you look at it. Still one of the greatest. And I think Melo is one of the greatest small forwards that ever played the game.
Yeah.
Just in regards to just the things that he brought to the table, bro. Like we've never the one thing that every athlete that he's played against, whether that's Kobe Bryant, whether that is LeBron, everybody said he is one of the hardest athletes to guard. Um, and you look at it, bro, he is heavy, but still at the same time can be able to get you with that pop pop because he had good ball handling skills. So what do we do in that situation? You know what I mean? Does he get discredited for it? No. But I think also he has a lot of Olympic, he has three Olympic golds and one bronze. I still think he should have been a part of, the last team that just went out there with Steph. I still think he should have been one of those, just give him his basically kind of like they did with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird at that time, his kind of going away flowers. I think that would have been a great thing for him to be
Yeah.
added to that group. But even though he wasn't, he still was a part of the Redeem team in '08 with Kobe and Bron and Wade. But again, man, I don't think it tarnishes his legacy. I just think it doesn't put him in the upper echelon where you could say he's better than Bird. You could say he's better than up there with LeBron or anything like that. Because again, rings don't lie, and that conversation gets a little shorter. Once you
Yeah,
put that
no,
ring
for
situation. So
sure.
if he would have won one, even if he would have won one with the Lakers, when he was there, again, he would have had a ring. no matter if he was on the bench or not, you would have to call him a world champion. So I think that's one of the things that for me, I don't think it's a discredit. I just think again, he just was in a era, man, where you had Steph, you had LeBron, you had Dwayne Wade, you had all these
Yeah.
fantastic athletes, and this is what you're playing against. This is not a situation where you're, playing against, one of those eras where it's just you. Nah, man,
Yeah.
you came in with one of the best. I mean, outside of the '96 draft class, you came in one of the best draft classes that were out there. You know
No,
what I
that's a
mean?
fact. That's a
So,
fact.
I mean, again, that would be my answer, bro. What about you?
Well, and first off, I didn't mean to say Hakeem Olajuwon. I meant to say Will Shaq. I was trying to think of a big, dominant big. I mean, Hakeem was a dominant big too,
I mean,
but
he ended up getting 2 rings, so I mean, you could definitely
yeah,
add that in there.
but I wanted to see Melo win a ring, to be quite honest with you, because the NBA is the best players in the world, right? I get it that you win Olympic gold medal, and he's won multiple of those, but to see you win a championship in the NBA, I think it just hits a little different because you're going up against the best players in the world day in, day out, right? The best players overseas typically they come to play professional basketball in the United States for the NBA, and so I would have liked to see him win an NBA championship, but I don't think it tarnishes his legacy. I don't think it tarnishes his resume and his portfolio of what he has done on the court. But I mean, what he did though, from like an individual, like his individual accolades, I mean, it's off the charts. I mean, dude was scoring. Was it scoring champ or scoring? Something like that. But
Mhm.
he put up crazy numbers when it came to scoring, and I do remember that interview when Kobe, somebody asked Kobe like who was a tough player to guard, and he said Melo. Melo's a big dude. People don't understand when you're holding a 6'7", 6'8" guy with a crazy wingspan and who can put the ball on the ground, but they can shoot it as well. Like that's not normal for 6'8", 6'9" guys to be doing that, right? 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". That's not normal. So to even see like a guy like KD do that is off the charts, like just from a basketball perspective. I think we see it and we're like, he's supposed to do that. But typically guys that big, bro, they're goofy. They're like Bambi on the court. They got two left feet. But, Melo, I mean, Melo get you in that triple threat, bro, and he'll jab you to death and just pull up right in your face. So, you know, much respect to Melo, but I definitely wanted to see the championship, but it doesn't tarnish his legacy because his individual accolades was off the chart. So happy for him. His son is up next, which is pretty dope. Is there any other Hall of Famers whose son is in the NBA or who's gaining that type of recognition as Melo's son outside of LeBron? Right, we know LeBron. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer. His son, his situation. Don't want to get on that topic, but anybody outside of them? Do you know of any off the top of your head?
I mean, again, I think the closest that you could say, which he's not a Hall of Famer, would be Gilbert Arenas at this point in time. I mean, again, you got again, Boozer and them. You got his sons coming in. Again, still not a Hall of Famer. You got Matt Barnes' kid, still not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Um, but the only person that I could think of in regards to being that Hall of Famer and coming close is Melo. Like his son, bro. One, again, shout out to Melo. Shout out to the hard
Was
work.
Stojakovic a Hall of Famer?
He probably will if he isn't already, he will be based upon the overseas rules. So that's how Yao Ming got in, based upon again him being an overseas player. So
Okay.
they're under a different criteria. So if he hasn't, which I think he is, he will be. But his son at Cal is putting up crazy
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah. His son.
He just
His son's
hasn't.
pretty decent.
Yeah, he's just had a terrible team that he's playing on right now. But that man know how to shoot. Again,
Yeah, he
just
can
like his dad.
go.
But I definitely will say Melo, man. Again, having a number one kid in New York,
That's
number
big,
one.
bro.
We're not talking about
Yeah.
number two. We're talking about number one prospect in New York, and we
Yeah,
know how
that's big.
competitive it is out there in New York.
Is he a
Second,
senior?
yes.
Cause
So
he got
he signed
snagged.
with yeah. He signed with Syracuse,
Okay.
and he was in between USC and Syracuse. I would have loved to see him at USC, man.
Nah, for sure. But
Um,
they snagged him real quick. They snagged him from
oh yeah,
the McDonald's All American game.
yes. And they said that was one of the things that shouldn't have happened. Again, how are you the number one player in New York and you don't get no type of recognition in regards to going to the McDonald's, All American game? Like, come on, man. So he definitely should have. Again, no, there's no disrespect to the individuals that did make it. But I
Hmm.
think earning the number one spot in your state in the competitive state that it is of New York, you should have been able to get that leeway in that situation. And
Nah, for
him
sure.
not
I agree.
one of those, like, I think if he would have went to a big prep school, if he would have went to Oak Hill like his dad, yeah, and he would have still had the number one, yeah, he would have been good. But you
Yeah.
shouldn't have to do that in order for you to be able to gain that. You also said something, man, before I go more into detail about his son. You said something in regards to Melo, man. Did you know um, Melo didn't win an MVP, bro? And again, I just found this out recently, and I was like, bro, I would have thought as much as he averaged, he would have been able to win that MVP. But no, Melo didn't win an MVP. But what did Melo do? Melo actually ended up um, winning a scoring title when he was with the
That's what it
Knicks.
was. Yeah,
You know
scoring
what I
title.
mean? So he ended up getting that. Um, in regards to Melo as well, Melo is one of the, I think, since 2002. Again, I will give you an exact quote. But since 2002, Melo has had the not 2002. I'm sorry, since 2012, Melo has had the most game-winning shots at 30 than any other individual in the NBA. That
Sheesh.
lets you know Melo was getting buckets at the end of the game. Not saying he didn't get buckets throughout the game, but at the end of the game,
Yeah.
the ball was on 10. Um, I just listened to Gilbert Arenas podcast. Shout out to them. And there's an individual in there talking about that Melo was in his top three. People of basically bucket getter of all people. We said KD is one, MJ is one, and Melo is three, which I think is blasphemy that Kobe is not in there. But that's a whole different
That's
story for a
wild.
different
That's
day.
wild. Kobe's not in
Very,
there.
very, very, very blasphemy. But
Because you know who's second on that list that you just mentioned? You say Melo's one for hitting game winning shots, but you know who's second?
who?
Kobe. So I mean, Miss, come on,
It's Jelly Bean
don't,
himself, man.
yeah, don't disrespect my man's like that.
That's all I'm saying. But it just alludes, man. Like, again, Melo was a bucket getter, bro. And he's implemented that in his son. Like, just to be able to see his son ball, bro, his game is pure Melo. And I mean, I'm excited to be able to see him at Syracuse, hopefully continuing on legacy to be able to fight, to be able to get that national championship, just like his dad. Again, he has plenty of NIL money going that way. That is coming to Syracuse right now, man. But just to be able to follow in your dad's footsteps, even though it's big footsteps, man, he has not shied away from, I would say, the spotlight, man. He has
Yeah,
fought through it. And man, again, for him to be number one as a senior, bro, again, that's more kudos to him, man. And on this podcast, bro, we give you your flowers too, man, because you have been getting buckets over there, man. And no matter what, you took this, he took the game serious, bro. We've seen plenty of, and again, I don't want to, name drop of other individuals. And no, I'm not talking about who people think I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is there's been plenty of other kids, whether that's Michael Jordan's kids. And again, I'm not going to go any further, but that have had to walk in big shoes, but couldn't fulfill that same thing in regards to being a high prospect. Most of those individuals were getting scholarships based upon what their parents did, not what they did. So for
mm,
him to be able to start his legacy, man, I love it. I'm excited to be able to see him, in college. I know he's probably going to maybe do a one and done, just like his dad. But I'm excited to be able to see what the game is going to present to himself.
yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And with his son going to Syracuse, which is super dope, and I think that's every father's dream is for your son to follow in your footsteps, especially at the level that they're at. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but that's not going to be Melo's only legacy is basketball. I mean, he does so much stuff outside of basketball, which is pretty dope too. As far as just being an entrepreneur, which I think is dope, which I like the most because basketball only goes so far, and Melo's had a awesome career, which is really rare that players have the type of careers that Melo has had. But outside of basketball, man, he's built a portfolio to where not only did basketball set him for life, but now he's set for life just outside of basketball, just with his other endeavors that he's in. So super dope, man. And but if you had to pick, I seen this tweet and it showed all the different versions of Melo. I have to read some of them too. So it's talking about you got your Oakwood Melo, you got your Hoodie Melo, you got Syracuse Melo, you got Team USA Melo, courtside Melo, where he grabbed the ball, he was acting like he was gonna shoot it, then he put it down. You got Lakers Melo, which I wasn't a fan of. I don't like to see players go out like that, bro. Like Kobe. I like the way Kobe did it, right? Before he got any worse, he was like, you know what? My time is up. I'm out. I'm moving on. Melo wasn't the best with the Lakers. I wasn't a fan of that Melo, but I like Hoodie Melo the best. He started the trend, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't even on the court, and I'm like throwing on my hoodie, like I'm finna go warm up and warm up lines and layup lines. So I'm messing with the Hoodie Melo. Which one was you messing with?
So Oak Hill Melo, a beast. I'm just
Tough,
gonna throw it out there. But one of my favorite Melos, or my top two is definitely a Syracuse Melo. Him
tough.
as a freshman, bro, with just oh my, that was one of the best squads that I seen implemented all together.
Yeah.
With Boeheim out there as a coach, man, doing their thing. But I would say it's between Syracuse Melo and Denver Melo. The reason
Mm,
why, man, that's how I end up loving, Melo in regards to just being one of the best at his position in his craft and what he was doing. Like Melo was one of those people, just like I felt with Tracy McGrady, like I felt with Allen Iverson. I always wanted to win a ring, again, so nobody could ever take that greatness from them because they didn't have a
hmm.
ring. Like for example, when Tracy McGrady was on the San Antonio Spurs and they were playing, I believe, the Heat that year, he was on the bench and he would have got a ring if they would have won that year. But they didn't. You know what I mean? So again, his
Hmm.
legacy still says he doesn't have a ring. But if he would have been able to get that ring, and no matter what, he would have been an NBA champion, no matter how he got it.
Yeah.
But again, I would say those two are my favorite. But I actually want to say something, add something to you. So I know you were saying again, let's just say, how would you have felt, even though you felt, Blazer Mello, Laker Mello, was at the, tail end of his career? How would you have felt if you would have won a ring in one of those times? Like, would that have solidified a better perspective of that when he was there, or does it still say the same way of how you feel about him being with those squads?
Yeah, no, well, contribution is contribution, and especially from a veteran level like Melo, right? So with him, you get more than him just being on the court, right? You just get his experience, you get him, mentoring the younger guys, and so if he won a ring in LA, like it's well deserved because he's doing, stuff other than just on the court stuff, right? He's in the locker room with those guys, he's giving those guys, just the game on, especially rookies and sophomores in the league, like, just giving them free game on what it is to be like in the league, right? How do you prepare? How do you get, what's your routine like? Because, I mean, to be good like Melo was, right? He had to prepare, he had to put the work in. You just don't go out there in the NBA and just think talent alone is going to get you, scoring titles and things like that, right? You got to put the work in. And so I think his contribution alone with the Lakers, and if they won a ring, I think it would have been well deserved for Melo. I wouldn't take that away from him at all. And that's just personal preference. I'm a Laker fan, so seeing him out there not scoring and hitting threes like we've seen in Denver and stuff like that, that's just a personal preference. But when you talking about like a legitimate mellow role at the Lakers and not only on the court but what he did for the guys off the court. I'm sure we don't see what's going on in the locker room, but I'm sure he was giving those guys free game and just putting them up to speed on, like Melo. How did you become the scoring champ, bro? I wake up at 6 in the morning, I go get shots in, I take a nap, I go back and get more shots up, and then I go eat lunch, dinner, and I go get more shots back up, right? So it would have been well deserved. Sucks it didn't happen, but it definitely would have been well deserved. What's your thoughts on that?
In all honesty, man, I would have loved it. Again, just like if AI would have got one, I would have
Yep.
loved it because even though it's for the Lakers, and yes, I'm very biased with that. So yes, I would have loved it. But just even with him with the Blazers or him with OKC, or just all those other, teams that he was on, just to be able to get a ring, I would have loved to see it. Because
Hmm.
again, he got to the Blazers, he was more getting those rebounds. That was get the like he used to cuss when he would grab a rebound, and it was hilarious. But those are the things that again, going from a person that was getting buckets to playing his role, and again he had a role to play. We look at Ray Allen. Ray Allen was that guy. I don't think too many people know about Ray Allen's story. Again with him in Seattle and balling, going to Milwaukee, doing his thing, and then having to change his role in order for him to have more of a longevity.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. This is a little part two question to yours. Who you think would have won, Hoodie Melo, or you think Syracuse Melo would have won? Which one?
Syracuse Melo was a killer, bro. I mean, for him to be in college as a freshman, but his maturity and like maturity as a person, but his maturity in his game, right? Like not too many young cats, bro, are that patient with the ball and will play fundamentally as far as triple threat. Like either I'm gonna shoot it,
Mid
I'm gonna
range,
pass it,
mid
or I'm
yeah,
gonna dribble it. Right, right.
yep.
He was patient about those three aspects of basketball, and so his game was just really, really mature at a very young age. And I think that's why he had such a really good, long career because he was able to, carry that on, and and with that, longevity is the key in any situation when you can be that patient and when you can know your shots, exactly where you want to get out on the court, and things like that. So I like Syracuse Melo, bro, going into the NBA. Following that national championship, and then too, bro, to be a freshman and win the national championship, like I always tell people, like to win championships is not easy. Like as fans, we think like our organization, and then even our organization, we don't even own the team, but the organization. That does just sound crazy. Our organization, it's not our team, but uh, you expect the organization to win a championship every single year. That's not realistic, man. It's hard to win championships. These are, collegiate athletes, and these are professional athletes. Just like we go to work 9 to 5 every single day, they're putting in on their craft every single day, bro. So I'm rocking with Syracuse Mello on that. What about you?
Again, Syracuse Melo, hands down. I think Syracuse. I think the only one that would have probably been a tougher matchup would have probably been New York Melo or Olympic Melo,
Hmm.
and especially Redeem Team Melo. Redeem Team
Olympic
Melo,
Olympic Mello was tough though, bro. He was
you know
tough.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, he
Especially
was
him
tough.
he around Kobe,
Yep.
LeBron, Wade, and he being able to come on, man. That's a different breed.
Yeah, he was
Um,
tough.
so as we wrap up this episode, I did have another question, but I'm actually gonna steer away from that. And
No,
I
get
want to
into it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
ask. Okay, so I'll ask: do you think Melo being blackballed hurt his legacy? Because ultimately, Melo was going down a path where after he got traded to New York, again, that max player, the people, you're surrounding your team by him, then you end up training the pieces around him. You trade, Amon Shepard, you trade J.R. Smith, your rival, squad of Cleveland, and then Melo's in this kind of stuck place. And then all of a sudden, now Melo is the issue, the cancer, and now nobody wants Melo, which was so weird because at this time Melo is still fresh off of, I'm dropping 20, 25 on folks, and you telling me
Yeah.
nobody does that. So, in your opinion, do you think his being blackballed hurt his legacy of what he could have, been, whether that was going to be a better role player earlier, you know,
Yeah.
rather than a situation where it was, a year, 2 years removed?
Well, I don't think it hurt his legacy because we all like real basketball heads, real people who know, the industry. Like Melo was a straight killer, right? And he's left basketball, and that's what we know him for, right? We know him to give you 30 on any given night, like easy, right? And it nothing will take away from that. But as far as him being blackballed allegedly, right? That's what we believe was the issue. And so you talking about big business, bro. You talking about owners across the NBA, and they're friends at the end of the day. This is a business. It's basketball to us because we're fans, on the outside looking in, but it's a business at the end of the day. And roles are real, bro. If you can't adapt to the role of the team, and I don't know if you've seen it, but Melo had a recent interview with Rudy Gay, and he was talking about the roles that they wanted Melo to go in, and the roles they wanted Rudy Gay to go in. And Melo was kind of like, man, F that role, bro. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like, I've been shooting from the 3 point line my entire life. Like, you think I'm finna go to the corner now and just be this 3 and D type player? Like, no, I'm jacking it up every chance I get. So I think it was tough for Melo from being this superstar to adjust, to a role. Like, I always talk to my brother about that. I mean, you the number one option in college. You getting all the touches, and then all of a sudden you got to adjust to this new role when you go to the NBA. Like, it takes time. And then now you're talking about a Melo though. His whole career he's been a superstar. He's been the first option, and then now you want him to be a role player. That's tough. And Melo wasn't feeling that. And I think what Melo did for the New York Knicks, I think it is a little unfair how they treated him because he brought a little life back to the Knicks, right? Like, I mean, they've been dry for as long as I've been watching basketball. The New York Knicks has been dry, bro. And then he left, it's been dry. And then, they got that young crew over there right now that's bringing a little life, to the New York Knicks. But, they absolutely, man, you supposed to, with a Melo type of player, bro, you're supposed to go all in on him. You're supposed to ride him out. He's from that East Coast area. He loved to play in New York. You're supposed to ride him out, bro. You're supposed to just let him be, that player, and then other players come in, and he just, he seasoned them along, and that's how he should have ended his career. I hated that he ended his career traded to this team, traded to this team, traded to this team, and the roles got worse and worse and worse. And so that's what I meant by, I hated that, if he had to go out like that. I wish it would have been, a little different, but nonetheless, we know Melo, for what he's done, and we know he'll light you up in a heartbeat. So that's what I will always remember Melo as on the court.
I think going off what you said about the Rudy Gay interview, they also said something in my interview of, San Antonio, I believe Houston was not feeling their mid range. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They're like, oh, we're not about that. They're like,
For
bro,
sure.
that is how we get our bucket.
That's
And
bread
Rudy
and
Gay,
butter for
you know what I
us.
mean, is his floater, not floater, but his fadeaway, his pull up jumper is great. Melo will
Bro,
get you on the block and be able to back you down, be able to
bro.
make buckets. Barbecue chicken.
Rudy Gay on NBA 2K was a monster.
Monster, bro.
My little brother used to smash people. Like, he would get Rudy Gay, bro, and he would go nuts on 2K, bro. Rudy Gay was good. He was another one of those guys, bro, who's really big, 6'8", whatever size he was, super long wingspan, can put it on the ground, but it can shoot it like it's nobody's business. And those guys are tough to deal with. So and that's the new generation of basketball. I don't want to get into a whole nother topic, but that's the new basketball. And it was hard for them to translate the new basketball that was coming in with the, get away from the 2 pointers, their low percentage shots, go to the 3 point line, shoot those, right? If you ain't dunking it, a layup, you're shooting a 3 pointer. And it was hard for them guys to translate. Think about Kobe. If Kobe would have stayed a little longer, bro, he would have had a hard time, transitioning to that, because Kobe was a mid-range king.
So I'll say this: I disagree. And the only reason why I
Okay.
disagree is because you look at what Kobe's game was, even from 8 to 24. 8 to 24, Kobe knew that in order for him to have longevity in his game, he couldn't do what he was doing with number 8. He had to do at 24. 24 was being able to pick his poison. Picking his poison was picking his spots mid range as well as from the outside. Don't get me wrong. I still think Kobe is a better 3 point shooter than some people's goats. I'm gonna just say that. But ultimately, it was him improving his game every single year, and I think with him adjusting to the new style, yes, this wouldn't have been a fit for him, but I think he would have adjusted where he could have had because Kobe and Iman Shepherd said this best when he was on I forget what New York radio station when he was talking about Kobe at the Garden. He said Kobe was one of the first individuals to shoot, that ball like he was Steph Curry before Steph Curry. You know what I mean? I'm talking about shooting it from, you know, 35, almost by the half court line. I think he would have been able to adjust. Don't get me wrong. I still think he would have been able to have his mid range, but I think he would have been able to adjust. Now, I'm not saying you're saying he wouldn't be able to, but I think he would have been able to adjust just based upon the individual of his greatness of who he wanted to be. And you could see so much in regards to his game, in regards to him having to adjust to that. But I think from
And real
everything that
quick
you
though,
go ahead.
and on Kobe, and so I hear what you're saying too, but Kobe's game was it wasn't so much in the open court. He was really good in the open court, but he was really good in the triangle offense, right? Which
especially yeah,
was
half court. Yep.
it wasn't so much behind a 3 point line. It was, you slowing the offense down, and we're just going to get a good. And it was always a contested shot, but Kobe was that good. He was fading away, or he was using some type of footwork to get a nice basket. But it wasn't what we see now. Kobe wasn't finna take no role, bro. Where he was finna run down the court and go straight to the corner and hang out in the corner and wait for the ball to come his way. He was not
But
about to do that.
what I will say, you're right. I 100% agree with that, taking a role. But I think Kobe also would have been able to take a back seat if he would have had one more star with him. If that Chris Paul trade would have went through,
I don't know,
Kobe,
bro. You
the
talking about Kobe, bro?
no, no, and I get it, but I also think it wouldn't have had to been so much on Kobe to be able to be as dominant as he was. The ball didn't need to be in Kobe's hands if you had somebody he trusted, and if which he did, he trusted somebody like Chris Paul to be able to do the things he did. And at that time, Chris Paul was averaging, if I'm not mistaken, between 15 to 17 points at that time.
That's not enough, though. Chris Paul's a facilitator.
But we're talking about New Orleans Chris Paul, bro. Chris Paul back in the day he could drop 30 on you. He could take over when he wanted to take over, but his main thing was a facilitator. If we go back to the tape, I'm just saying, look at the playoff series that he had back in the day.
No, he can hoop. Chris Paul can hoop.
Chris Paul would have gave you a 1-2, but
Kobe
if we
ain't
want,
taking the back seat though. If he was, Shaq would be there still. Shaq would
no,
have been
that's
there
young
still,
Kobe.
bro.
Okay, you're right. That's 8 Kobe though. I'm talking about 2-4 Kobe. 2-4 Kobe was a mature individual. Yes, he pushed everybody around him, but Kobe knew in order for me to be able to be great, I still need better people around me, and I got to be able to rise their game up around me. So if he would have had a CP3 like he should have, I still think that is the worst trade. We definitely got to talk about that on the podcast because I've never heard in my life somebody ever vetoing a trade until then.
But they got
But
Luka this
Kobe would
year.
have had let's just okay. Well, again, we're gonna hit that on the podcast episode.
1000%.
Yeah, hands down. But I still think that would have gave Kobe his 6th ring, even if you're not talking about Kobe winning 2, which I think he would have got 7, truthfully. But I'll give him 6 at least at minimum with Chris Paul. Bro, and at that time a trade went through for Dwight Howard. You talking
Mm-hmm.
about Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, and Kobe all
No,
on the
that would
same?
have been nice.
Come on, pick and roll would have been. But what I'm saying in that situation, Kobe didn't have to be on the court. Kobe could have saved his fourth quarter. His body could have been rested, where he could have sat out 5 minutes at the end of the third and going into the fourth and been good because a young Chris Paul and a young Dwight Howard was taking over the game. So
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying. Like at that point in time, he would have been able to adjust because his game didn't need for him to be able to be the Mamba. Even though he had the Mamba in him in the fourth quarter, we would have seen it, but he didn't necessarily need to put the miles on himself like he did when he made it to the playoffs his last time.
Yeah.
Putting averaging 40 plus minutes a game, like that's unheard of for a star player to do. But what was Kobe trying to do? Make sure people knew, hey, I'm still that guy, no matter who I have around me, in that situation.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
um, as we wrap up, bro, I want to list off Melo's accomplishments because we didn't list every single one, and I think that deserves a lot more recognition in that situation because I think Melo did a lot. Yes, we talked about Melo being the MVP. No, not being MVP. I'm sorry. Him being a scoring champ. We also talked about Melo, getting close with the MVP, but didn't win one. Being an Olympic gold medalist. But I'm gonna list off some of it. He played 19 seasons. 10 of those were all stars. Come on, man.
Wow,
As
that's good.
well, he was ninth on the NBA's all-time scoring list before he left, with 28,000 points, 289 points scored. That is a lot of buckets. Named to the NBA's 75th anniversary team.
Yeah.
He was one of 75 of the greatest NBA individuals. I want y'all really to feel that, man. One of the greatest players to play the game. As well, as I said before, a 4-time Olympic medalist, 3 gold, 1 bronze, and as well a 2003 NCAA champ with Syracuse University.
Yeah.
So those are just some of his accolades, man. We appreciate y'all, staying tuned on this episode with us, man. We truly, truly enjoy, man, being able to give players their flowers, man, because there's so many individuals that don't get their flowers when they're here and they can smell them. And we want to be the individuals that can be able to give it to them. Pause. That can be able to, um, that we can be able to give them their flowers, while they're still here to smell those. So we truly appreciate y'all, man. And thank y'all again, man, for being a part of the fam. Again, thank you for your comments, man. Please, 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 man, repost, share. We would love to be able to engage with y'all, man, because again, we know the summer is around the corner, man, and we got something planned for this summer. We haven't put it in, just planned just yet, man, but we got something
Yeah.
for everybody that has commented in regards to potentially giveaways or just interacting even more with us. Maybe even being a part of our podcast. We might be doing a live podcast. So again, man, we would love for all of you that are just have been commenting. Please continue to comment, repost. As you see on the screen, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you do all of those things, man. Stay engaged with us. As I pass it off to Mario, man, I just want to say thank y'all for hanging with us. And Mario, do you got any last words for us?
We love y'all, and tag us, comment. We want to hear your favorite Melo moments. I want to hear them. Melo was an assassin on the court. He wore some dope shoes. I seen some Air Jordan 10 PEs that we didn't get a chance to talk about, but go do your homework, do your research, and tag us, comment, and let's have some fun with it. We'll see y'all next time.